Is National Suicide Prevention Month, and one of the best ways to help a teen in crisis is to simply talk with them. But it's not easy to discuss suicide. Molly Shen spoke with David Downing from Youth Eastside Services about how to have this crucial conversation.
David, thank you so much for joining us here on ARC Seattle. We're right here at the tail end of National Suicide Prevention Month, and it's such an important topic to talk about, but also, of course, just a really difficult one. I understand you have some advice for parents on how they might be able to broach this if they have concerns with their kids.
Yeah, thank you, Molly. It's a really important topic, and it's one that is often really challenging for adults, for caregivers, for parents, because it can feel quite scary to ask questions that actually may result in something that folks just don't know what to do with that. And a really key thing is that it's important for adults, parents, caregivers, really to push through that fear, because you can actually just be very direct with young people and ask them if they've ever thought about suicide. A lot of people will say that that will give them a thought. That's not actually accurate. We don't find that at all. And when you approach a young person, it's really good to think about how you do that. So, yes, we don't generally talk about these kinds of things, and making that more normal, that unto itself is a really good thing within families. But when we do approach for kind of this first conversation, it's really important to think about, okay, I just want to check in with you for 5 minutes, so you can have it time contained, right? And then you can do it at a time where you're not looking face to face at each other. You could be sitting on the bed talking about it, or you could be driving in the car, you could be doing a walk outside. The eye contact is something that actually, not having that can really open doors. You can even text about some things like this. There is some good uses for technology with our kids, and I would say that, that's one, because it's even hard for parents to bridge that. But if you bridge that in a way that makes it more comfortable, then it's helpful. Also, adults should be sharing, to an extent, their own mental health journey, so that we're normalizing that. The more that we normalize this within the family, then it opens those avenues really for us to talk to young people and to get the information back from them. And I would just say that it's really important now to be doing this, because people will ask about the warning signs, etc., for suicide. And of course, there are traditional warning signs for suicide. But what we're finding now, and it's evolved over the past 10 years, is that young people actually are presenting very much doing well or okay on the outside. This is a key change we've seen in our field, really, like over the last 10 years. And so we don't know really what's going on with a young person unless we're asking them and talking with them about it. So I just want to say, young people, they could be engaged in school, and they're doing well enough in school. They've got friendships. They're engaged in extracurricular activities, sports, etc. And most of the young people that we see that we've lost over this last, maybe it's 5 years or so, they look like they were doing okay, and nobody knew that they were not. I should clarify. Peers seem to know, but the adults don't seem to know.
That makes it honestly all the more frightening, probably, for parents. And so it does, as you're saying, it underlines the importance of just having this conversation. Would you say that parents who do then open those doors of communications, that kids maybe will open up then, just if that they're just all they need is that interest from a parent or a caregiver?
Yeah, it's a really big step to do it. And yes, young people they're waiting for somebody to ask, they're waiting for somebody to really, show that they care in this regard. And as parents, of course, we can show that we care in lots of different ways.
And so if a parent asks the question and does get feedback from their child that, yes, I've been thinking about it, or I'm struggling with this with my mental health, then what's the next step?
The first thing would be to ask if they actually are currently feeling like they want to take their life. So if they're feeling that way, then that's when there does need to be an immediate response. One, you want to look at, do they have any access to anything in the house, whether it's weapons, whether it's medications, etc. So if they have access to something and a means to it, and do they have a plan? Now, I'm not going to ask parents to be mental health professionals here. So It's like, those are the basics of what you do. If they are actively at a level to where it's extreme, to they really do seem like they want to take their lives in the immediate, then you need to take them to the nearest ER.
And if it just does come down to wanting to talk more, have more of a conversation, finding a mental health therapist, do you have suggestions on how parents do that? Because I think that can be a struggle too. Where do I go now for that additional layer of help?
Yeah, that's absolutely an incredibly important question. So it's been very challenging for parents to actually find services. And it started really in the peak of the health crisis and the lockdowns and such. But the key aspect of that is one, you should look at community mental health organizations. So for such as us at Youth Eastside Services, we have walk-in, what's called open access. So it's assessments where you can walk in. We have days set. There's no, you don't need to schedule an appointment. There's no barrier in that kind of a way. So you can actually walk in and get an assessment on demand, and then we would respond accordingly based on the acuity level, what's going on. They needed to see our psychiatrist, etc.
Well, that's all some really wonderful advice and such an important topic, too. I appreciate your expertise and you taking the time to speak with us tonight.
Thanks so much, Molly.